Alright, I think we should go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. Welcome everyone. What's happening? How are we doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to this week's live editing session. I'm Eric, and welcome to the channel. So today we are going to be going through a collection of photos that I just took yesterday, actually, at Fort Monroe in Virginia. It's a beautiful little spot. And the thing I like about it and like what we can do with it today is when I was there, I got some wildlife photography photos, some really cool, some nature shots, some wildlife, some beach. So there's a lot of different areas we can kind of bounce back and forth between. So that's what we're going to do. And going to just explore just a, kind of a single day snapshot of this whole area. That's the plan. I don't think there's anything else to say other than other than the usual stuff before we jump in. As always, this is as much of an open forum as it can be. So please, comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, opinions on countries sending tanks to Ukraine, all of that is welcome. Please drop that in the chat. If you're a photographer or an artist of any kind, drop your website, your social media, whatever. Share that with whoever else is watching. This should be as much of an open platform as it can be. Trying to think if there's anything else to talk about other than that. I do this, as always, if you're new to here. Gotcha. Hello, Stephanie and Buttons. And Evelyn and Mia. As always, I do this because post-processing of photography is hugely essential in today's photographic world and is often not talked about a whole lot. So it's a thing that I think should be talked about more and should be shown more. So I do this for that reason. I also do it because I just like sharing my process, and kind of talking to you guys about it helps me, helps me lock in why I make choices I do. So it makes it feel a little more collaborative, and I get to share my process with you guys, and you guys get to be part of that. So I love this. Other small housekeeping things, and then I'll jump in. Postcards still around, still available. We still got a few left. So these are postcards with some of my photos on them, some of my nature photography. You got Natural Bridge, Dream Lake in Rocky Mountain National Park. You've got Antelope Canyon in the Navajo Nation in Arizona, and Marjorie Glacier in Alaska. These are you can buy these on my website or on my Etsy store. If you go to erichackler.com, there's a link for my photography. You can find both of those there. The other cool thing about them is they're fully, they're postcards. You can give them to somebody, mail them to somebody, however you want to communicate with. But there's also a QR code on them, which is super cool. Which if you send it to somebody, they get it. They follow the QR code, and it leads them to a website where they can put in their location, and then you can see a map where all of the postcards have been and gone, which is really cool. So that's a thing. And then also, if you are in the Richmond, Virginia area, this Saturday, I'm going to be teaching a beginner's photography class over in Bird Park. If you go to richmondphotographygroup.com, you can sign up for the class there. And that'll be a cool thing to do. We'll be talking through a lot of the basics of just taking your photography to that next level. If you want to get off the automatic setting, we're going to go to talk through ISO, exposure, shutter speed. Depending on time and how we're doing, we might talk histogram and composition and some of the more advanced type stuff, but aiming toward getting you off of manual mode. So getting you into manual mode off of everything else, getting you less afraid of that M. So that's another thing. So that's the housekeeping. Those are the two kind of announcements going on. And let's go ahead and jump on in. I think this is the button for it. There we go. Okay. So, I'm starting with this one just because it's the self-portrait that I did. I feel like every photographer could have a whole folder of self-portraits that are just their shadow in otherwise well-composed shots. And I promised tea slurping, so here we go. Ooh, that sounded gross here. Was that gross to you guys? Please let me know in chat. Evelyn and Mia, I'm assuming you're reacting anyway. Stephanie, please translate. In the meantime, yeah, I'm going to do this photo as a warm-up. So this was, and then we'll talk about, like, here's what this looks like from the other end of the hallway. And I've got some shots from going both directions. Do I know? I guess I just did the one from here. But yeah, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about just the awesome lighting here. This is one of the side batteries out at Fort Monroe. Excellent. Thank you guys for splitting the vote. Everyone else watching, we have a tie. We need votes on whether or not listening to me slurp tea is disgusting. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and work on this photo. So yeah, this is one of the side batteries. It is you can't really get in. Yeah, there's a second floor. Obviously, there's the top where the guns were. This one's pretty much like it's off limits to climb up higher. You can kind of wander through this area down here, but you can't really go anywhere else. These little alcoves here, many of them have doors in them that have been blocked off for probably obvious reasons. Okay, so Evelyn's an emphatic yes. That's good to know. So yeah, so we're gonna. I gotta spend a whole lot of time doing shots from the other direction. Some things in the foreground, doing stuff here. Because I went through like each of the rooms because there were like 3 different rooms here. So like, or 3 different areas. So yeah, there's first, second, and third, and then as we got to the third room, I turned around and took a couple shots this way. So yeah, gonna tweak this. I think I'm gonna be doing 2 versions of this one, but let's start with this. We're gonna go ahead and pull that in so we kind of lose that hugely overexposed. I guess attention. I was expecting the pillar to be more exposed than the stonework, but apparently it is. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this in just a bit, which also gives us this kind of completes this nice swoop that we're getting from that shadow from the roof, which I like. I'm not sure if I want to do. There's part of me that wants to kind of do that nice crop and just give a nice, like if you look up here, just this nice bisecting line to it. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to keep it wider, at least a bit, because I like having more of my shadow in there. It definitely draws your eye to that. All right, let's see. Do I want to crop it into the side a bit? I might actually want to do that and just that's cleaner. Give it that little corner there. Okay, cool. All right, so let's play with my usual. First step is the clarity slider, which in this case I don't think I want to touch too much. Maybe in specific moments with masks, but not as an overall thing. Texture, probably gonna do the same thing. Texture and clarity are gonna. There's certain areas I want it and certain areas I don't. Dehaze, probably gonna be the opposite, honestly, because I'm liking. There's a lot about this photo I kind of just like as is. I'm not sure there's a whole lot I want to do with it, other than maybe desaturate the shadows or push the shadows actually more toward blue more than anything else. Let's see, highlights. Oh wow, look. All right, here we go. Here's today's immediate lesson in why we shoot raw. Because if you look over here, let me zoom this into something I can reasonably use. Let's go to 66. Yeah, we got this tree out here that looks like it's kind of just amongst the white. But if I bring the highlights down, all of that comes out. Like all that information is contained in the file. So if I wanted to do a shot that was more that, in this case, I don't with this one. This photo is absolutely about the brights and the darks, so doing a more as you would assume typical even balance of it to give it maybe this kind of a look. Certainly, this feels more documentarian. This feels more of a let's just capture what it was like to be there in the moment and what this place kind of accurately looks like. Which is also this isn't a super showy example, but this is what we call a high dynamic range because you've got. You can have the detail in the darks as well as details in the lights, but in this case, this photo is about the light and the darks. So I don't want to soften those up too much. Actually, might pump the highlights up a bit if I go. That's the nice thing about having these really crisp shadows. Thank you to the sun, is that I can push the whites and the highlights up, and it doesn't. I still keep the really crisp lines there. Hey, Jen, welcome to the stream. And yes, we do love shooting raw. It's one of the first things that if someone comes in and is like, hey, I want to learn, like, how do I improve my photography? That's one of my first questions is, are you shooting RAWs or shooting JPEGs? All right, so yeah, right now all we've done is kind of pumped up the whites. Now the whites, I'm okay with overexposing. I kind of like that there's a bit of an overexposure to it. I don't want to do too much with the shadows. I like that, I want to bring them down a little bit. Actually, if I bring the blacks down instead, that might be. Nah, I think the shadows is where it's. I don't know. You know, it's gonna be the blacks. The blacks are doing that without sacrificing color, and I'm gonna do some more with the colors anyway. But bringing the blacks down a bit. Because here's the thing, with the whites, I don't mind overexposing. I'm not super interested in the detail out there. The white is, the thing that interests me here is the shadows and the lines. But because, and down here in the lighter part of the photo, you have stuff to look at. You've got these intricate shadows. You've got my silhouette down here. There's, in the lighted half of the frame, there's a lot more to look at. In the darker side, there's not as much. So whereas on the light side, I'm gonna push it up and brighten it and overexpose. The darker side, I don't want to do a straight like that. Hey Shelby Lynn, welcome to the stream. I could do this, but this is, then you lose that detail. And if I was gonna do this photo, I would probably, if I was gonna do it like this, I'd probably crop this down to like here and make it much more just about that, which is not a bad photo in and of itself. But I'm gonna stick to, right now I'm gonna stick to this. So I do want to bring those blacks down a bit. There we go. So we want to still have some detail in there, but not too much. Okay, so that's pretty good as a start. And I think I'm gonna probably do like 3 videos or 3 crops of this and 3 different versions. That photo turns into a really good warm up, and then we'll get to some of the wilder photos that I took. The ones that are I don't know if more interesting is the right word, but ones that have less of me in them. We can focus just connecting to nature and connecting to the world that's there. Okay, let's go ahead and mask. Let's start with the masking, because this should be a fairly easy thing to do. I'm going to do a luminance range, and we're just going to select the bright parts. And we are going to pull that down. So we're really just getting, just getting those nice bright whites. And the other thing I can do, there we go, that's good. Okay. No, let's brighten that up a little. I'm gonna, okay, so luminance range. I wonder if that's the way to go. We're going to color. Let's try it with luminance for now. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to subtract with a linear gradient, and we're going to get rid of, there we go. Going to get rid of all the stuff that is on the walls over there. So that's good. Cool. So that should be, those are our brights. Those are our brights. And now we can play with them if we need to. We can bring up the texture. We can bring up the clarity of them. I don't know if I need to though. Maybe a little bit of clarity. A little bit of clarity to kind of shape that and keep some detail in there. I don't want to go too extreme with it. Let me see the overlay there. Okay. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think I'm going to subtract again with a brush and kind of catch a couple of spots over here. Let's take this to 30%. Let me see the overlay. Just going to clean off this pillar, because that's technically, these pillars are in my mind, are part of the darker side of the photo as opposed to the brighter. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm looking for when I pick, like, what am I gonna start with? What's my warm up picture gonna be? And a lot of times it lands on being the photo that, like, I think I can just do a lot of weird stuff with and kind of get my mind into the right mindset. All right, that's pretty good, I think. Let's come back and turn the overlay off. Yeah, I like that. Cool. So now we can do a duplicate and invert. And that means we are now getting the shadows, which I do want to pump up the clarity on. Maybe the texture a bit as well. Maybe just the texture, honestly. Yeah, clarity a little bit of something in there. Could dehaze them, don't really want to. Do want to push them a little more toward blue. Let's say, maybe not that much, a little bit more blue. I'll say a little bit of green's not too bad. Actually, that might be the way to go. A little bit of this. Okay, something like that as a starting point for the masking. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to do is let's get on this mask, show the overlay, and I want to subtract the brush. Gonna come down to the bottom here. And we're gonna get rid of. Okay, why is this so much in the light? It's interesting. All right, we're gonna clean this up a good bit right now. I'm gonna get all this out of here. Same deal with the stuff around me. It's the downside to textures that there's when you have textured photos, you're gonna have stuff in the like the stuff in the concrete that's going to register as darker. There we go. I'm gonna clean that up. Just those little patches. There we go. Turn that off. Better, much better. Oh my god, that's so much better. Yeah. Okay. Jeez. Cool. And now I can do another. Sometimes I go back and forth. I'm not sure I need to do another duplicate and invert. This is actually looking pretty good. As is, just that slight clarity adjustment. Could bring up the highlights. Could bring them down. Yeah, let's bring them down just a touch. Have to have that detail there. There we go. Okay, that's looking good. I'm looking at the thumbnail up here, and I'm pretty happy with that. All right, let's go back to here. I'm debating playing with color. I'm also debating just doing this in black and white. Black and white might be the way to go on this one because it really does bring in the details. Yeah, let's do this in black and white. Let's do a black and white version of this one, and then we might do some color versions of different things, but different crops on it. Let's do the black and white version. Because that draws your eyes so much more to the composition of it, and I like that a lot. Okay, in this case, I'm going to go to this mask, which is our shadows, and I'm going to bring them down a bit with the shadow slider. We do it like that, just a bit, and I'm going to bring the clarity up a little more. It's just going to refine those edges really nicely. Okay. Now let's come down to color and play with the colors in black and white. Aquas, a little bit of something there. Gives us a little bit of light just on the edges of the walls and stuff. It does balance the image out. Having that wall be a little lit up does balance the image, so I think I'm going to keep that. I like that a lot. Blues are where the shadows are going to hang out, so we're going to turn those down so that we really keep that nice. There we go. And now we can control just the brighter and darker areas here. I want to keep that a little bit dark. Let's see. Oranges, yeah, we can bring the orange up because the oranges are mostly just these wet patches here on the ground. Yeah, believe me, I took several versions of this with me standing there trying to find the right angle, the right perspective to do that. And I'm not a huge fan of getting my doing kind of self silhouette portraiture like this, but this one felt good. I liked this. All right, greens on the walls and green of the tree back there. I think it distracts a little bit. Let's keep those up. Reds, not really a thing in this. I feel like the reds and the purple might have pretty much reds, purple, and magenta are just going to be the fringing on the edges, and those can just stay where they are. And then yellow is going to be the ceiling, and we're going to leave that more or less alone. Actually, might bring that down a bit to compensate. There we go. Cool. Okay, I'm going to adjust the crop on this a little more. Could go all the way out to wide. I don't like that. I want to go in and just get that. Even come into about there. Yeah, I think I want to go right to that corner, kind of right to this edge here. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with that. I might bring that up and just do it. Yeah, I think that's a little better. I think that's coming along. If I wanted to bring this down to just that corner, is that ceiling adding anything for us? I don't think it is. I think doing it like this, yeah, I think that's the better way to go. Maybe a little bit more breathing room up there. Just a bit. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And let's pull this in because I still got a little bit of that pedestal there that I don't want. Yeah. Guys, I'm happy with that. I think that looks pretty fucking good. Once, though, I'm not going to walk this move back. Actually, I'm pretty happy with this. This is getting that line going down and across. I'm actually pretty happy with. I'm going to undo those last couple crops. Keep it like that. Yep. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and set that to 3 stars, and then I'm gonna do a second version. I'm gonna do 2 different versions. I'm gonna do 2 virtual copies of this guy. First one, we're gonna do. I'm gonna reset my crop and adjust from here. I want this to. I do not want that locked. Excuse you. I'm gonna bring this one down and kind of cut that ceiling more or less out because I want it to be. Cut a little bit of the bottom out, cut the side. We're just going to crop this down to a smaller frame. But I want to focus on the kind of the doorway back there. And that sort of, yeah, that area there. So we're going to keep adjusting the crop on this because I want that. Let's see. I want to keep that in the frame, but I also would like to center it. So we're going to pull this out to about there. Come up a little higher there. Come up a little higher here. Not too much. You know, something about that I like. There we go. And that now focuses more of our central energy on the doorway. I'm going to do, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to put the grid back on so I can just perfectly, actually I shouldn't be doing it that way. I should do it like this. I can just get that door centered in frame. I can actually pull that up on me a little bit. Pull this down. Something like that. I can pull this in a little bit, which also means I can pull this in. Actually, that looks pretty good. All right. There we go. And that's got, I look at this one and my eyes are drawn to me and to this kind of bottom triangle here, which I like. I look at this one and my eyes are drawn to the door and the photographer is a secondary thing. So I'm happy about that. That one I'm good with. Let's do a third one here that I'm going to try to crop me out of. Let's see if I'm going to make this shot totally about that door. Stop locking. About the door and the lights. And I've got other shots that are similar to this, but I want this one to. I'm going to try this. And just make it about that texture. There we go. It's actually pretty well centered. I can pull this in a tiny bit. Just like that. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to turn that grid off because overall it makes you follow rules that don't necessarily need to be followed. We're also zoomed. But the fact that I can zoom in about 30% and basically have it not be anything tells me that I've cropped the picture into about 30%. We can zoom in 100% here. All right, let's do a little bit more work here with the masks. Not that we need to do too much. Yeah, there we go. Keep some darkness in there. The other thing I want to do is I'm gonna do a big linear gradient box here. So here we go. I always love doing these. I wish Lightroom would give me the option to sort of do them without having to go through this elaborate thing I'm about to do, but I kind of enjoy the process. So we're gonna do this with 4 linear gradients. And basically what I want to do, and I'm gonna extend these about like that and pull this in. What I want to do is, yeah, it's about the same. Okay. Is make sure that door at the end is the brightest part of the image. I want that to be the thing that catches your eye as much as I can. So now we subtract the linear gradient, and we're gonna put this like, do it like that, or I want to do an intersect. Delete that one. Let's do, I can just keep adding. There's no reason to subtract this. I can just keep adding because they're not going to overlap. They're all facing the wrong directions. Like that. Pull that up a bit and do one more. we go. Basically just giving me that doorway as a box. And now everything else has been selected. And I can do this. I can bring the texture down, which will do that. And then I can also bring the highlights down just a bit. So that now, as you look at that photo, actually bring the highlights, the whites down a bit. There we go. Bring this up just to the point that it almost touches. Just like that. Cool. And now I'll do a duplicate and invert, and I will bring the highlights up down there. Bring the whites up, but that's going to start losing detail, so let's leave them alone. Yeah, let's bring the texture up, actually. I've kind of already textured that, but we'll bring it up. Okay, cool. So that, yeah, hopefully that draws our eye there, and that's now the brightest part that we then, and then everything else gets to sort of be around it. What does it look like in color? Out of curiosity. I think black and white's the way to go here. For now, I think black and white's the way to go. We may come back to this one, but yeah. Okay, so there's that. There's our warm-up shot. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go to wildlife. Let's hang out with this this great blue heron for a bit, who is just fucking pretty. Very photogenic. This guy was very accommodating to let us kind of hang out and take pictures of him. So Fort Monroe is basically, if you imagine a pentagon with like little spear points, like if you taper out each of the 5 corners. That's kind of what Fort Monroe looks like from the top. That's the wall going around it. You can walk up and do the whole lap of the wall, as well as like explore the beach in the area outside, and explore some of the batteries outside, and then explore just kind of the little town on the inside. So, yeah, this guy was up on the wall. I got a picture here that is very overexposed. Let's pull that down to something reasonable. Oh wow, that's not even letting me. Bring the exposure down. There we go. That's a little better. Shot is actually a little bit blurry. Probably not going to do much with it, but you never know. But anyway, so he's up on. I didn't get any wide shots of him. That's probably the widest one I got. Yeah, he's up on the wall with us, and then he flew down across the moat and hung out on the wall on the opposite side. So, yeah, let's do some work with him. He's so pretty. Let's see. Now I'm liking these shots. Yeah, I think I'll start with this one. I like this guy. I like him kind of amidst the leaves and amidst the grass. Let's get him centered. Just try to find that balance of breathing room on either side. Looks good. We can bring this down a bit. I also like that his feathers are up. I do not know if that is a thing. That he is a sign of him being kind of wary of us. Or just the way his feathers happened to be that day, though they did kind of change throughout. Anyway, so here's our photo. Going to start by telling this to select the subject and see what it gives me. I always like to find out what it thinks the subject is. That's actually pretty amazing. That's completely spot on. Excellent. A little tough to feather up there, but nothing I'm going to worry about. Let's do a duplicate and invert. Awesome. So I now have masks on both sides, and what I want to do with this is I want to bring the texture down on the stuff behind him. And bringing the highlights up brightens the whole area. We like that. Bringing the shadows down. Actually, we're going to bring the blacks down. There we go. That sharpens those colors. I'm going to push the colors a little bit toward yellow, toward more of a gold. And then I'm going to do the reverse on him and push him a little bit toward blue. But great blue herons, for the longest time, whenever I saw them, my thought was always like, that's not a bluebird. That thing is gray. And then you get close enough and you kind of say, okay, it's definitely a blue gray. Definitely see why they'd go with blue. But I'm also I'm gonna do a little bit to help that along. All right, now so that's good. I'm happy with that. Clarity slider, clarity, and that's gonna be too much, and dehaze gonna be the same thing. Could do a more high contrast version with dehaze, something like this, but I kind of like I kind of like that softness. This feels like it feels like caught him in the middle of the day, and I like that. That's what we did. I may push that up just a tiny bit. You know what? I'll do that with individual color sliders. That's fine. Okay, second mask. Now the one thing I want to do here, I want to do a quick little subtraction. I'm going to subtract a radial mask and just get rid of his eye, because I'm about to push this whole thing toward a little more toward blue, and I want to make sure his eye stays that gorgeous yellow, because we're going to do some stuff with him. So here we go. Let's widen that up a little bit, just like that. Make sure we get the whole thing. Good. I'm going to do a quick duplicate mask, and we're going to come back to that in a sec. But all right, so then here, yeah, that mask we just duplicated, I'm going to delete the subject, and I'm going to invert the radius, and that should give me, if I play with the color. All right, why are you not working? Oh, convert to add, and then invert. There we go. Got it. Okay, cool. So now we have a mask that is just his eye, and we have this mask here that is everything. That is him minus his eye. So now with him, I can push him toward a little toward blue. I can bring up the texture on him because he is just gorgeous, and I want to bring up those feathers. I can bring up the shadows a little bit to brighten him up. That is way too much blue. Now I'm looking at it. Let's go to negative like 9. That's better. I'm gonna split the difference. Negative 12. Cool. And I can do more with that when I get down to the color sliders. Yeah, he looks so good. I could bring the clarity up on it. I don't want to. There's a like, as much as there is severity to this guy, and as much as there is like kind of an instinct to let him to kind of be like that and just be like that this really stark out, aggressive thing. Maybe I'll do a version of this that does that. Let me do a quick virtual copy, because I'm curious to do a high contrast version and kind of play with that. Right now, this one is I'm editing this one from my point of view, where I'm like, okay, I like that he's a very soft, like, to me it's a cool thing to see him. He is beautiful and gentle and just such a just a cool presence to be in the presence of. So I'm back to editing while I talk. So I'm gonna let him sort of be his own beautiful thing. We get some nice rim light on him there. If I bring up I think the highlights are the way to go. Bring up the highlights and get a little bit of that halo lighting on his feathers up there. Helps isolate him from the background more as well, which is excellent. Gives it that kind of studio look. But yeah, so from my point of view, he's gorgeous and beautiful, and like seeing him invokes this wonderful feeling of getting to hang out with a cool, fellow creature. I'll do this version when I get to it, where I'm going to go ahead and bring up those highlights because I did like that move. When I do the second version, I'm gonna do it as like maybe like a fish would see this guy, what this guy would be like to a fish. So we're gonna lean into that, to a high contrast version, and see if we can make him, see how scary we can make him. Okay, let's work on his eye real fast. We're gonna zoom in to do that. Here we go. We're gonna bring up the clarity, the texture, just to darken that up. Highlights, maybe a bit. Shadows. I always like bringing up the shadows in the eyes. I feel like you get dehaze is usually too much. Bring up the whites. I want to brighten those eyes, and I feel like sometimes you can, when you brighten up the eyes, you get that. You find, ooh, look at that. That's captivating to me. It's a little bit hot. We can bring the highlights down. That's better. We can push it a little more toward yellow if we wanted to. I don't know if I need to. Yeah, it stands out perfectly well on its own. It does not need my help, apart from the fact that I am brightening it up a little bit. Bring that down just a touch. I want it to be the first thing you see, but not the only thing you see. So you kind of gotta make it match in the world that it exists in. Could pump the saturation a little bit. Don't know if I need to. If I was gonna do that, I'd push it a little more toward yellow than blue. If I was gonna do that, I would do it kind of like this, which I do like. Honestly, I'm a fan of that. That's not too bad. I'm gonna bring it down a bit. I'm gonna stick with that for now. All right, that looks good to me. We're gonna get my phone to stop vibrating. That'd be nice. Cool. That looks pretty good. Let's jump down to some sliders. Let's see if there's anything we want to do down here. Obviously, we bring up the blues. That's elaborate, and I don't like it. Aquas, man, aquas are really the redheaded stepchild of this thing. They really just aquas either make a very noticeable effect or no effect at all. Orange, again, that's pumping up the. That's probably what's gonna happen in the next version of this photo, but let's see. Stephanie, I completely agree with you. Evelyn and Mia, you two work together and decide on a name for this guy. And Stephanie, I'm sorry for whatever just happened in that room that you're in. Okay, greens. I don't know. There's something like I do kind of. I want to bring the colors up a little bit, but I also am enjoying just the gentle nature of this, and I don't want to ruin that by going aggressive with color, which is a thing I don't often say. Okay, pulling up the purples actually works nicely. It gives us that nice. It enriches the color in him without being the blue that kind of does that. Like kind of is a big wash on him. And then magenta and aqua are kind of the two that really never get. They either make a huge impact or they don't, or they're non-existent. That can stay right where that was. Okay, let's come back down. Come down to luminance. I'm not sure I need to do much with luminance. I can bring up the blues a little bit to brighten him. I don't have a problem with that. I'm gonna leave the purples where they were. We'll kind of let blue handle the brightness and purple handle bringing the color up a bit. Of course, now we brighten the blue, we can brighten the purple, and that pulls that up even more, which is nice. Let's see, luminance wise, orange gives us a nice background to him. I don't mind that. It's a little bit contrary to typical thought that you want to have your subject be the brightest thing, but I kind of like this. I kind of like giving a little bit of a fiery, like a light orange fire sort of surrounding him. I like that. Yellow, bring up the yellow kind of diminishes it. Yellow's gonna stay where it is. Green, kind of the same. I think actually bringing the greens down, I think is good. Yeah, bringing the greens down is good. I'm gonna have to brighten his eye up a little bit because there was a little bit of green in his eye. Let's see. All right, we've got a suggestion from Shelby Lynn to name him the Baron. I like that. It seems to fit his regalness and his pose, his poise. So that's our first suggestion. Let's see. I don't think I really need to mess with the hue sliders. Though it'd be fun to fully make him purple. It's very. Yeah, whole new species of bird we've discovered, guys. So we'll stick with that. I'm gonna come up here back to my sliders. I'm gonna desaturate him. Actually, I'm gonna leave his saturation where it is. I like the blue. I'm overthinking. I am going to I'm gonna push his eye a little more toward purple. I'm gonna brighten it up a little bit more because that green. Brightening up the greens turning the greens down turned his eye down a little bit, and we don't want to do that. So yeah, that's looking pretty freaking good. I like him. He is interesting and complex, and just all kinds of very beautiful. Okay, now let's do a fun one. Actually, let's set this to 3 stars, and now let's do the terrifying fun version. So step 1. Background, dehaze. Very aggressive. I'm going to do that. Could push the saturation. Not sure I need to. Nah, I want this to be contrasty and haunting without being, without actually being a rave. All right, same deal with him. Evelyn and Mia said onion. Did they say why? I'm gonna ask them for an explanation as to why they want to name this great blue heron Onion. Yeah, we'll bring up the clarity on him. We're gonna make him look scary. There we go. Already I'm getting kind of a hungry look. I'm noticing the line of his, as we do this, I'm noticing the line, how far back his jaw goes, and how far back his jaw goes now, and that's the fact that it just, I don't know. This feels like just zoomed in this much. This feels like the face of a very angry Muppet. Like, yeah, this to me feels like, yeah, it feels like the face of like a very angry, Oscar the Grouch kind of thing. Okay, hey, we're gonna name him Onion. All right, Onion the Heron. There's something there. Onion Heron. We can make that work. Onion Heron the Baron. There we go. Now we got a whole string of rhymes going on. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, but this makes him look fiercer and hungrier, and I'm all about that for this version of the photo. Saturation. I still don't want to super saturate him, but I'm gonna this time I am gonna bring up the luminance and the blues, so that will give him, that'll help bring up, like, I can up the saturation, which darkens a bit, and still keep him there. All right, let's go ahead and bring up our highlights and our whites in his eye, and the shadows a bit. No, actually, no. We're gonna let the eye be very high contrasty and fierce here. Bring up the texture. Bring up the texture. We're gonna push this more toward yellow to really lean into that kind of that evil look. Saturation, I feel like it's possible to overdo it. I'm going to bring it down a little bit because it needs to still be part of the picture without being its own separate thing. And then I've done no global adjustments on this so far. We're going to up the contrast of the whole photo. Actually, take it back. We're going to bring the blacks down and the whites up. And the light and the highlights. And we're going to bring the whites up. I know that's too strong for this. Let's bring the shadows up and the blacks down. There we go. Yeah, this feels much more like how a fish or small frog would see this guy. All right, let's play with some severity in color a little bit. A little bit's magenta, not really helping. We're gonna bring up the purples. A little blue. Good amount of purple. Bring up this. Yeah, want him as contrasty and sharp as possible here. Bring up the reds and the oranges behind him, which are gonna, make him stand out even more. Yellows. Gotta keep the yellows up. I'm gonna push the yellows a little more toward orange. Just to kind of, give us that collective fiery look behind him. I think that's good. Could push the greens toward yellow and just sort of lean into that. I don't hate it. All right, that is looking pretty good to me as far as a terrifying heron. I'm gonna bring the blues up a little more. You know what? I'm gonna do that with go back to our masks and do that with the mask on him. There we go. A little bit more to pump him up. Cool. So here's our original, our first edit, which is more the typical wildlife magazine shot and kind of my feelings on how cool he is. And then we got this version, which is substantially more. Him as this is the cover of his heavy metal album. All right, also marked at 3. Sweet. Okay. So that's our bird. Let's switch to something else. We're gonna come. Let's see. Do I want to do a beach thing? There's a vertical couple of vertical panoramas I did that I want to see if they're gonna come out. So let's start with them. This one being the first one. So the first animal we saw when we got there was this absolutely gorgeous, and I didn't have my camera out because it's a personal policy to, when I get to a place, I keep my camera in my bag until I get to the point of like, okay, I feel like I understand this place and I want to start capturing it and making photos here with it. And usually that's fine. The downside to this one is this day was we got there, we got up, started walking along the wall, and almost immediately saw the biggest and most gorgeous fox I've ever seen about 20 feet away from us. And that fox did not stick around long enough for me to get the camera out. So I spent the end of the day, came back down to the kind of parade ground in the middle of the fort, and hung out just with my long lens to see if I could get that fox to show his gorgeous furry face. He didn't, but I had the long lens, so any shots I took were long lensed, and I wanted to try to get a picture of this kind of fire escape area here with the sunlight streaming through and hitting the windows. So we're gonna try a panorama and see if this comes out looking any kind of good. And I've got a couple of other vertical panoramas, one more that I want to see if it comes out from the end of the day. So we'll do that. We'll switch back to architecture. Maybe we'll do beach after this, and then swing back around to animals. I got some really good shots of seagulls. Okay, couldn't merge these. If I tell you to do it in a different projection, is that going to work, or are you just going to have a problem with it the whole time? Which is possible. A lot of photo editing is waiting. There we go. All 13 images were successfully merged. Let me try perspective and see if that works. This might be one of the times perspective is the way to go, because it will kind of account for... That's better. That's much better. Okay. For once, perspective is the way I want to go. Okay. So I'm going to try... Let me mess with this and see if boundary warp... No, boundary warp I think is too much. Let's go with fill edges and see what I get. If that doesn't work, I'll tell it to crop it. And fill edge is basically a content-aware kind of thing, so we'll see what it's... Nah, it's going to be some weird duplicates. Okay, so we're going to boundary warp a little bit, but that's going to end up warping the brick, and I don't want to do that. Okay. So I tell it to auto-crop. Yeah, that's what it's going to do. That's pretty much what I want it to do, but I'll crop it myself. Okay. So, merge. Have a little more tea while it works on that. This is delicious. This is a... I don't know if you can still hear me. This is an evolution tea that is it's called Evolution. It's a very, very fruity black tea. It's a mix of black teas and fruits. And it is a little bit of honey in that, and it is so smooth. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay. So our panorama should exist in here somewhere. Oh, it's still creating it. Never mind. Still working on that. Let's see. While it works on that, I'm going to work on... Actually, no, I wanted to merge this one too. Guys, I have nothing to work on. It's creating that. I'm going to work on this one, which is just a piece of wood that was catching an interesting shadow from the branch next to it. And I thought was interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and do this real fast. I was like, this will be a photo that's all about texture. Clarity's a bit much. We're just going to do texture. We're going to do texture. There we go. Could dehaze, but dehaze is going to give me some weird edges, and I don't really want that. Bring the highlights up without getting too much of a fringe on it, and the shadows. The shadows are what make this interesting. So we're going to bring the shadows up a bit, and then bring the blacks down, so we can bring up the little details in the wood here, but still have this darkness up top, which is good. Bring the whites down so we avoid overexposing. And there we go. That one's pretty easy. Okay, that covers the space we needed. Here's our panorama. Let's work on it. Once it loads. These panorama photos are usually pretty big. Okay, so step one, crop it. This is what we're going to crop in as far as we need to here. And I was planning on kind of pulling this down. Crop into... I gotta come into the edge of the concrete there. So something like this. Let's... Yeah, it's that little touch of the sky there. Let's correct the angle if I can. All right. take these panoramic shots. I have no idea what to do with them, but I think they're interesting. They're fun exercises for me, at least, so that's part of the reason I do them. The texture. These architecture shots are actually fairly straightforward. You brought the exposure down. I don't know why. A little bit of this up there. Bring the whites down because I do want to highlight the kind of the shadows and the stuff that's cast on the wall there. Might actually help if I crop this a little more, adjust my angle a bit, something like that. Come in right to the edge. Bring this down so we get off the ceiling. Keep that upper level of bricks there, just like that. Yeah, something like that. It's a decent start. It might actually be better to do smaller panoramas with some of these instead of doing the whole thing. But yeah, I'm not too upset about that. That's a fun little practice one. Set that to 2, and we're gonna come back to it. Let's go back to what were we just doing? We did this one. That was just fine. Set that to 2. Let's do this other vertical panorama that I did that's probably gonna come out a little bit better. Ooh, my shoulders to kind of relax. See, that's better for the most part. It says 2 of 8 weren't able to be merged, but that's fine. Yeah, no. See, with perspective, that probably means 2 of the ones in the middle. Because we basically got, unless it's the bottom ones. Tell me which 2 or no? No, you're not. All right, let's try this. Let's try to merge this in two batches. I'm gonna go to here. Try to merge these. You really don't want to merge those last 2. Okay. Can I merge these 2? Actually, I don't even think I need that last one. If I can just merge these guys. Can I merge these? Spherical works is going to be weird. I don't know. That's very bizarre that you're having trouble merging these 2 photos. Because like this, I don't understand why that's a problem. But okay. Doesn't really matter. We can still work with it. All right. Remerge. Perspective, please. That's cylindrical. Not a fan. So we go with this. All right. Auto settings. Yeah, you can turn that on. I'll play with it in a sec. All right, merging this, which means I get to freeze a little bit. So I get to stretch a little bit. I feel my shoulders straining from wearing the backpack all day yesterday. All right, got our panorama here. We can then do some cropping with. We're going to crop this in. Just about to there. I like having those trees. I'm going to bring this down so that it's, there we go. Okay. Upped the exposure, and I understand why, but I don't necessarily like that you need to do that, because I would rather do it this way. Texture. I don't know why we're bringing the highlights down necessarily. A little bit's good, but bring the shadows all the way up. Bring the whites up a little bit more. There we go, something like that. That's just a fun photo. Let me finish. Let me crop this further down. Make it more about that. And we don't often do, we think of panoramas, we don't often do vertical panoramas. Most times you think panorama, you think, okay, picture, 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 merge to long picture. Vertical panoramas are fun. Vertical panoramas, still get that higher, you get the height in there that you don't always get with this. And the way you take a photo like this is instead of doing, you're doing landscape shots, just going up and down. So that's cool. I'll give that 2 stars so I can come back to it. But I'm actually pretty happy with that one. Maybe a little bit more work to be done there. But the other thing about doing panoramas like this is there's a little bit of noise in the sky, but you get for the most part, you get a much higher quality image. You get kind of a higher res image because you're combining multiple things. All right, let's look at. Let's see. You want to go back to birds? You know what? Let's come hang out with some pelicans. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much. I have a lot of fun with reflection shots. I've gotten a thing for them. But let's do pelicans. And this is the thing. I was sad I couldn't get watching these guys fly around. There were a bunch of pelicans kind of hanging out on a collection of pilings, kind of right at the end of a pier, and they kept sort of felt like they were sort of playing musical chairs, where there was always one of them that always was like, one of them would land on a spot and someone else would take off, and it would kind of like there was, one fewer piling than there is birds. Not that there weren't, like there was just, it wasn't even one fewer piling. It was just territorial birds being like, no, you can't be on my piling or any of the pilings around me. Pilings, for anyone who is not nautical themed, are these posts. The posts that are at the end of piers, or oftentimes the last remnants of where piers used to be. Those are pilings. So tons of birds. Here's a couple more photos here. Yeah, there's a smaller piling with these guys all up on top. I don't think I got any wide shots of these guys, but did get shots of this guy here came in for a landing, and this one was not happy about it. So the two of them did a little bit of fighting, which we'll get to. But yeah, every once in every little bit, one of them would be taking off and kind of do a big loop of this little lake, and then come back and land on a new piling, and reshuffle the order and ruffle different feathers. And so I really wish I'd gotten a good shot of the shadow on the lake, but I did not quite. So anyway, let's work on this. And this photo is going to be an interesting challenge for me because I was cranking the ISO to get enough brightness to edit, or to get a photo. So we're going to see how noisy this photo ends up being as I work on brightening up stuff. Do I want to dehaze this? I kind of do and kind of don't. I want to dehaze the background. So let me select the subject. I'm actually very impressed that I was able to get, oh wow, that's pretty spot on. Okay, cool. So let's just invert this. So I've got the background, and we will subtract the brush because I want to get this a little bit off the back of his head. Okay, that's good. Any spots up here I need to get? No, that's all pretty good. Down there is a little annoying. So if I can, let's see if the best way to do this. Subject. Try intersect with a color. Get that. Invert that color range. That's taking some of the color off there. It's not super helpful. Let's get the brush here and get rid of whatever's up on his wing. Might have to do that little bit of cleaning up between his feathers with a brush. We'll see. Yeah, we're just gonna clean this up a little bit. Here we go. Just nice. Yeah, that area there, I think I might have to do with a brush. Let me try adding a color range and see if that's any better. I'll try to get this sort of purplish look, and that's going to be, if I invert and bring it down, nah, it's the same problem. Get rid of that. Not helping. Okay, so we're gonna do a brush. We're gonna add brush. We're gonna zoom in. Give that navigator. We're gonna zoom in to 200% or to 300%. It's kind of, that's overkill. Let's go to 200. 200%. There we go. And we are going to just add this in little by little. Doesn't matter too much if I'm not super neat here. All right, this one, Jen and Shelby Lynn. If you guys are still on stream, you guys are in charge of naming this one. So come up with a good name for our friend here. You know, also, like, I know pelicans get kind of a bad rep. Like, I know they have, I mean, anything that can swallow a live seagull is, like, you know, and, like, there's videos of it doing it. There's going to be a mixed reaction to them. But I find them fascinating, and I've always found them kind of majestic. So, okay, that's probably good. So now I can dehaze this. We can pull some colors out of that background, which is great. Can also saturate it a little more, though I'm probably gonna do that with the color sliders. We're gonna reduce the noise and see how much of an effect that has. Because if I put the noise back to what it was, let's reduce that. Can bring the sharpness down, which will definitely help. Might also, actually, that's pretty good. Bringing the texture down, I'll leave the texture alone. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. If I do the clarity, that's going to be a much more aggressive. Yeah, I don't want it to be that aggressive. Honestly, softening the clarity a little bit is not a bad idea. I think it was a nice out of focus thing. That is very colorful. Cool. We'll do more with that in a sec. So there's our pelican there. And now we can do a duplicate and invert and just get most of our bird. Subtract brush. We will erase all of this. So it's just our boy here. There we go. Clean up this. I can probably do a. Is this color range the problem? I feel like it might be. It is. Okay, so we're just gonna get rid of that. There we go. I wonder if that's the problem. If that's a problem down here, if I get rid of that. No, I like that. I like that being included there. Yeah, no, they can swallow a live seagull. You can find videos of them doing it. I'm gonna give me 2 seconds. I will find a YouTube video and tell you guys where to look for it. Okay, so there is a. Yeah, there's a 26-second video on YouTube in all caps just titled Pelican Eats Seagull. There is also a video by Junglecast, which is 14 and a half minutes long, that is called 14 Pelicans Ruthlessly Gulping Down Other Animals. So, yeah, no, pelicans, yeah, they're kind of tanky. They're like, yeah, they can do some weird shit. I find them impressive. Yeah, I mean, isn't that the whole reason you hang out with me? Stephanie, isn't that the whole, like, isn't that part of the, like, I feel like every single time we hang out or we chat, there's always some element of, like, one of us finding out something like, I could have gone my whole life without knowing that, but now I know it, and my life is richer and scarier for it. It's a part of my trademark. Okay, cool. So this is all looking. Is there actually stuff going on in that ground, or no? Let me do the. No, that's just me hallucinating. Okay, cool. So now we've got our pelican selected. With him, I want to bring the clarity down a little bit. I want to brighten him up, which is a dangerous thing to do when I've got as much noise as I do here. But I don't think it matters that much. All right, Shelby Lynn suggesting Peony. What made you pick Peony the pelican? Where did that choice come from? Okay, so bringing the noise down a little bit doesn't do us a whole lot of, like, we may have to live with him just being a noisy bird. Yeah, I think we have to live with him being a little bit noisy because I do really like having the detail in him. And that's kind of on the one hand, it's the downside of... All right, Shelby Lynn, you should not then worry about trusting links from me if I send them. Okay, all right, I don't need to be 200% zoomed in. I want to be like 50%. I just want to get a closer look at this guy. Yeah, he's looking very pretty. Let's bring the blacks down a little bit. Actually, the blacks, I don't know. Let's bring the whites down, I think. I think the whites are where I want to bring it down just to kind of get that little more detail on him. Am I dealing with a little bit? Hang on. No, I wanted to zoom in more than I was going to. Subtract brush. Let me see the overlay here. I think I need to add this little bit here just to... Okay, actually that's fine. It's actually a little more of a problem. Hang on a second. If I get rid of this... Yeah, that cleans him up better. Cool. Okay, cool. So that's what he's going to look like right now. Turn the overlay off. Nice. Not doing a whole lot of global adjustments apart from bringing the highlights up. Bring the contrast up a little bit. Nah, I'll do it with the colors down here. Let's come down to color sliders. Actually, let's crank up the vibrance, which makes it look like he's in the 80s. And saturation. Saturation's a little bit of a better option here, but I think I can do that better with sliders. So, down to the sliders. All right, blues certainly. Purples. Maybe. Magentas. Reds. Yeah, I want that whole background to be more saturated. I want that entire back section to be kind of lit up. And now I can go to here and crank up the saturation on the background. Now that we know what colors we're going to be playing with. That looks awesome. I can even push it a little more toward purple. Not that much toward purple. Now I'm going to do that with sliders. Hey, EB. Welcome to the stream. And yes, he does. Yes, it does. Pelican, for some reason, Pelican's eyes... Actually, do I have any photos where their eyes are more... I think they've got... Let's see. This one here? No, Pelican eyes are like... Yeah. It's a little weird. They've got this kind of area of skin around their eye, which is similar, same color as their beak, and then their eyes are dark. Yeah. They're the they're the brown-eyed girls of the aggressive predatory bird family. All right, let's say purples. Yeah, it gives them a nice little bit of an edge. I'm a fan of that. Let's come up here. Let's push the oranges toward red. A little more something like that. There we go. That's looking good. Give me that back. Aqua, once again, completely shafted. That's fair. Shelby, that's a fair point. So I think we can make I gotta keep this. Yeah, keep that beak normal. I'm not entirely sure. Are you gendering Onion? Are we assuming Onion is of a certain gender? Because I'm not sure that's. I'm not sure onions have genders. Ooh, reds are having an effect there. Can I do that without getting too much artifacting? This whole photo is artifacting. What do I care? Blues. Blues a little bit. I kind of prefer the darkness to it. Let's bring the blues up a bit. Brighten that up. See, exactly. Onions are genderless. Okay, so cool. That's looking pretty good. I want to bring up the saturation on on Peony herself, which it's not. There's not much there. Interesting. Okay, that's fine. Wanted to bring up the colors down there, but if there's not much, we can kind of live with that being that. Gotcha. Aha! A wild Maria Lisa appears and says "Yep," and moves on. That's what she's up to.
I'm gonna start screaming at a State Farm agent in 2 seconds.
Ooh, we're gonna start screaming. All right, if you hear screaming from the other room, that's what that is.
That's me ripping a new rear end to a State Farm agent who's trying to scam me.
State Farm's trying to scam us, and we're gonna scream at them until they stop. That appears to be the plan from the other room. So if you're interested in seeing that, check out Maria Lisa's live stream that she's streaming to Truth Social, I believe. Figured that was the best place for being loud and shrill. So yeah, check out her stuff over on Truth Social to see her scream at State Farm agents. That is a joke. Please, this channel does not endorse Truth Social. Just to be clear. All right. Meanwhile over here, back with this, talking about something less uncomfortable than Truth Social. This bird that swallows other birds whole. Shelby Lynn, there it is. Sorry, I missed the message. Getting caught up in EB and Stephanie's discussion of Peony's cold dead eyes. And Shelby Lynn, I like this logic. This bird is very pretty, but also your peonies are pretty, but you hate the smell. This bird is gorgeous, but now you have reason to hate them. Fair enough. All right. Let's see if we can do a little bit of sharp masking here. I'd like to keep the detail without... Well, this thing is still going to be way too... Gonna be a little bit noisy. I'm going to live with it. Doesn't bother me too much. Can bring up the luminance a touch without losing detail. I'm fine with that. Is that blue causing an issue? I don't think it is, actually. I think that's probably fine. Aquas, nope, still aquas, no love. And then magentas we could bring up. I don't really think that we need to, so we'll keep that off. And Maria Lisa, everybody says hi. Everyone is saying hi to you. She said hi back. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this. Is one of the things I want to do because I always want to do the eyes, which I know we're all itching for, a nice aggressive close up of Peony's eyes here. All right, let's do a new mask. That is a radial gradient. Get this circular thing going here. A little bit wider, a little bit taller, just like that. Rotate that a little bit wider, kind of like that. Okay, cool. So we'll bring up the highlights, bring up the shadows, bring up the saturation. What color are these eyes? They're just sort of dull grayish. All right. Bring up the clarity. Nope, clarity is the problem. Leave clarity alone. Texture's not going to help. Maybe a little bit. Whites, there we go. That's better. Let's come back to a wide shot, a wider shot. Seeing a little bit of the eye there. Let's not push the eye more toward red. That eye doesn't need that. A little bit toward blue, maybe. What's yellow do? Yellow's going to end up being... That's demonic. That's an accident. Yeah, no, I was only able to get photos of these guys for probably about... I was only there for, I think, about 5 to 10 minutes, just catching this gorgeous, end of day lighting. Was really happy with just the way that looked, but let's bring the saturation down on that eye. That's a little bit aggressive for me. I want it to be brighter than anything else, I want it to be colorful. Yeah, something like that. So you notice the eye. Cool. All right, done. I'm a little worried that water's a little bit too saturated. We're gonna bring that down a bit. Cool. Go back to our crop here. I want to crop this in just the tiniest smidge on the bottom because we're catching that little touch of extra shadow. All right. So yeah, there we go. That's not too bad. I'm gonna add a little more contrast to Peony's actual body. I feel like Peony is sticking out a little bit from the lighting in which she exists, and I don't want to do that too much. There we go. Also kind of like the blacker image there, the darkness to her. If she's just uniform bright, that's a problem. Also, for the most part, she's being lit. I mean, I guess the sunlight is coming from the side. The sunlight's coming from over here, so she's being lit. Like her head is being lit by that. Like that's coming from the sunlight. The underlighting from her is mostly the light reflecting off the water, so that should be darker, and that makes sense. Let's check. Let's check something here. Nope, wrong one. Brush. Give me another add brush, just to kind of get the top of her head collectively back into this photo. There we go. And my subtract brush, I can do that. That'll help a little bit. Okay, cool. So that's our friend Peony. Let's see. Do a nightmare version. Do I need to like? All right, 3 stars here. Let's just check and see what a nightmare version of this bird would look like, because I'm not sure I need to do much more. Like, yeah, it's not super. It's not a super different big change. Like it's a little more. It's texture, it's contrast, and it's dehaze, and it's like kind of just that. Which actually that looks pretty cool. Okay, fine. We'll do a nightmare version. Let's create a copy. Yeah, we'll do a nightmare version. But we need a scarier name for Peony. Then we need a scarier name for this creature. And I can do this mostly just. I'm just gonna crank sliders on as global adjustments, and I'll do individual stuff. All right, texture. Yeah, let's bring the texture up. We're gonna bring up the contrast so we get that going on. Let's come to our mask here. Bring up the highlights because this is gonna be fucked up. Put the dehaze. Nah, leave the dehaze where it is. We're gonna double dehaze, and it's gonna look terrifying. Sharpness down, noise up, texture down. Texture a little bit down, not all the way down. Contrast. I want the contrast, but I also want to lose the fact that like she's kind of silhouetted against that. So yeah, we're gonna stick with that. Gonna come to the eye real quick. We're gonna crank the exposure on that so the eye gets all kinds of terrifying and bright, which is great. Very easy to do. I'm debating. I kind of like the blue eyes. I kind of like going blue, even going. Yeah, let's go aqua. Let's go the opposite. Ooh, okay, Hellbore. There we go. All right, so Peony is the prettier one. This is Peony. She is important and impressive and just doing her natural, awesome, like terrifying bird stuff. This is Hellbore, the black pelican of the family. All right, back to this. I want to bring up. Let's see the clarity kind of where. Actually, that's not bad. Bring the contrast down a little bit because that eye is going to do a lot of the work for us. We don't want to totally lose the detail. Yeah, this is the. Yeah, clarity's going to stay where it is. Dehaze is going to stay right where it is. Yeah, blacks can stay kind of right where they were. Bring the shadows up. This is now. Yeah, this one becomes much more about contrast than much else. We want those super bright moments there. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. And I like doing the. Usually when you think demonic eyes, my thought is go with go to red, go to yellow, go to orange. But for some reason this one I'm like, let's go to blue because that makes it creepier to me. You don't see it that often. So there we go. There's our demonic version. There's Peony the pelican, and then Hellbore the post-apocalyptic pelican. That was fun. Okay, cool. Good. Thank you guys for encouraging me to do demonic versions of stuff. All right, we got some more pelican shots. We've got one that I really want to do, but I'm going to save till the end. for a couple different reasons, and we'll talk about that in a sec. And Stephanie, I apologize for how that's gonna go. I'm gonna do some trees. I'm gonna do this nice tree one. We're gonna do this one's a focus stack. So quick little, see if I can do a high dynamic range of this. See if it'll let me. I think it probably will. We'll see. There we go. Successful merging. Lose the auto settings. I don't need you doing that for me. Auto align, I will have you do. Let me see the ghosting. A little bit of ghosting. Let's go to high real quick. And all this is a very different type of photo. Okay, you're ghosting everything when you do it on high. Let me see. Very different type of photo. The reason I'm doing this, if I go to none, see what that does. Oh, I'm sure there's horror stories about pelicans. I'm sure they're all over the place. Low. Just looking for the difference. Okay, it's mostly just deghosting the shadows, which is fine. We're gonna talk a little more about stuff in a sec. That's not bad. Not seeing anything that looks too wonky there as I inspect this. Okay, merge that, and I'll keep talking while it does that, while it creates that, even if the video freezes a little bit on me. Yeah, so one of the things I'm going to talk about, I'll talk a little bit about as I go from here, but also talking about, we're going to talk about ISO, which if you're in Richmond and want to come to my class, we're going to talk through a lot of intricacies of ISO. But yeah, so ISO is basically, I don't need that. I would like to see the picture. There we go. So ISO is your camera's kind of digital lighting. It comes from originally when you bought film stock from a film camera, it was rated for a certain ISO, and it was like, all right, so you'd buy higher ISO film for low light, you'd buy lower ISO film for outside. Digital cameras can have that as an internal setting, but basically what it translates to is lower ISO, more noise, or higher ISO, more noise. So this was, I go back to the original photo here, just take a quick peek at that, so I can make my point here. Yeah, you zoom in on the original photo here, I've got that much noise there. It's a little bit grainy, a little bit of an issue. Whereas if I go to a photo I took earlier in the day, like this one, and we zoom in, yeah, there's much less noise, and then in the subject, there's almost no noise, or none that you really capture. This was shot at 400. This one was shot at 1600. So we're talking four times what the other photo was shot at, and that's just because it was the end of the day, and I needed for shots of birds and shots of animals, you usually want to have a higher shutter speed because they're going to be moving, and you want to be able to capture that as sharp as you can. And also a little bit having an aperture that's a little bit higher also gives you that, because you can get a little more depth of field. So yeah, my thought was let's crank the ISO and get these shots. And the thing is, like here, looking at this, even at 100%, which is a substantially larger print, or larger than pretty much any print I'm going to do. And if you're looking at this online, if you're looking at it on your phone, it's going to be smaller than this. This is like to do it kind of like, yeah, even getting that's 6%, a little bit small. 33%. 33% is probably more or less full screen on a standard kind of computer monitor or laptop screen, and you're not seeing a whole lot of noise. You gotta look for it. So just, there's a lot of people make a lot of fuss over ISO and over like, the best way to shoot is you gotta shoot low ISO because that gets you the least amount of noise. It matters a lot less than I think we think it does. That's just a thing that I wanted to point out because I was testing this. I don't usually crank my ISO that high. My limit's is usually about 800. So the fact that I was like, all right, let me see what this looks like if I do it there, and it came out looking pretty good, I'm happy with that. Where's the panorama? There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Hang on a second. Why did that come out looking blurry? Not a fan. Remove that. Let's do this again. Actually, you know what? Now that I was kind of using that as just a thing to talk about as a transition from pelicans, we're going to come back to. I might come back to this one. The thing I wanted to do with this is I did a shot where I focused on the tree, and then and then the next shot where I focused on the background, and it's like a slight thing, but I'm actually okay. I want to see if I can get this to look good. Go to none. That's in focus. That's in focus. That's softer. If I go to low, we're going to get a little more there, a little less there. If I go to high, we're going to be out of focus there and sharper there. I think low is where I want to go with it. Kind of gets the best of both worlds. But I want to make sure that the word only is in focus. So auto align is good. Auto settings is whatever. Merge that. And in the meantime, we'll just look at this picture of this guy with his two little palm skis. Honestly, I'm not sure if this one might be a husky puppy. That one might be a young husky. This one, I saw this guy earlier on his, or guy or gal, not sure, on his front porch, and this thing is, like this one's a Pomsky. This one's just a very, very fluffy, little pup. They're both adorable, though. I really do question. I've said this to everyone I've told about this day. I really do question the idea of like, let's breed huskies and Pomeranians together, just because, like, they both insist on doing the most. They both insist on being very loud and getting very into conversations and letting you know when they have thoughts. I'm just like, this. It feels like it would be you're creating a very cute but also a very, very loud dog. So I find that I found that thought interesting. And this is the nice guy who owns them. Noise in photography, Shelby Lynn, that's better. Okay, that's sharp. This is sharp. So noise is basically grain. It's that kind of gritty grit in the texture. So, like, yeah, looking at this one, because it's probably gonna be the grainiest image we've got. Come on, let me zoom in, and then get me in focus. Get this photo to load. If I go to before and after, actually before and after, this one's gonna be better. Yeah, so you'll see. So you see all the kind of little texture in there, all that little grain. That's, yeah, all that. Like, yeah, that extra grit that shouldn't necessarily be there. Like this, like in a perfect world, this water is just perfectly smooth, which is what we did over here by reducing the texture and sharpness and stuff. But this is that's noise. That's noise. That's also called grain. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay. Back to this photo, just because I want to look at it for a sec. All right, let's come here. Adjust the crop real fast. I liked the way these trees kind of framed the red building behind them. I liked kind of the way the sunlight was sort of hitting in little patches. Yeah, there was a little bit about this photo that I liked. I did like the streaks of light going in the background there with the window as a central point. Anyway. Might black and white that, do some work on it later, come back to it. Anyway, 1 star will return. Okay, let's go to the beach. Let's do some beach stuff. Let's look at this. So yeah, so the cool thing about the beach here is you've got some jetties, which to all my friends from New Jersey, you're gonna look at this and go, nah, those aren't real jetties, and you're not wrong, but they're close. The other main difference is that in New Jersey you can go out on them, and here they have a bunch of signs that say don't, which is just unfun. Just not a like. That's a sign. Keep off the rocks. That's just not fun. Why do we hate fun? But let's see. So we've got So basically, did a walk down the beach. Did a bunch of photos here. There were a couple that I latched onto as things I wanted to jump into before we get to some of my bird photos. I do want to bring the highlights down on this guy. Make sure I've got the detail that I think I do. Yeah, look at that. Look at you being adorable. I actually got some really good seagull shots. I'm like, I got some shots of seagulls that make them, I think, look pretty majestic, and I'm very, very happy about that. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna probably do 3 or 4 more photos, and one of them will be a seagull shot. But let's do a beach one. Let's see. Let's find a beach one that I was jazzed about. I liked that one. Let's see. Didn't mind that. Kind of like the curve of this up to the jetty and then the buoy in the background. Not catching my eye right at this exact moment. Let me do this panorama, because I did a panorama from up on top of this hill. And I'm curious to see how that came out. So that'd be like this. And let's do, and this one should work better as a panorama with the oof. There we go. Yeah, Stephanie, going back to the husky mixes. From like when I first saw that dog, one of my thoughts was Chow, that it had that kind of Chow look to it, but seeing it move, seeing it in action, it's much more of a, like, Chows I think are a little more, they're more like, it's more of a stocky build, whereas Pomeranians are like small dogs who just are fluffed out, and that dog is much more fluffed out that dog is much more fluff than it is dog body. So yeah, it's looking good. Boundary warp is mostly fine. Fill edges is probably going to be okay. Might be a little weird, but we're going to crop out some of that anyway. Let's see what the difference is. Yeah, fill edges is actually fine. I did a good job. Okay, so let's merge. It would be sad if that seagull got eaten by Hellbore. That would be we would be sad about that. Though, as you will see later, there were many seagulls. So I'm not sure we need to worry too much about losing seagulls to pelicans. The seagull population seems to be doing fine. I'm also one of the weird people who likes seagulls. So, like, I guess gulls in general. Like, gulls have a place in my heart. So, I understand, and I am also one of the maybe this is correlated. I'm one of the people who has not had their food stolen by seagulls. Like, that is so far not been an experience I've had. Knock on wood here. So I have not had my food stolen by seagulls, so I don't have the immediate animosity that a lot of people do. Let's crop this photo in, so we kind of center on that buoy. Let's bring this down a bit, so we center on that, and let's bring this up a bit, so we get. This becomes more of a thing. Let me where's my 11 by 17? That's kind of become a default sort of thing. Though, can't say I'm a huge fan of this framing, though. I don't know. Maybe. Let's get that buoy centered. There we go. Okay, cool. Let's come back to this. Let's do a. There we go. Chromatic aberrations. Take those off. Not that they're making too much of a difference. Yeah, no, I've always found seagulls to be fun. I've always kind of liked seagulls, so never really had an issue with them. All right, let's work on this photo. Highlights, not doing much. We're gonna bring them down so we get some color in the sand. Whites, we're getting a little bit, brightening up the sky. Let's bring that down. Shadows, bring the shadows down a little bit. Shelby, I absolutely appreciate the sentiment, but I've got a few hard truths to tell you about the animal kingdom, or just about the concept of eating chicken. Though I do have friends who live on farms who would very aggressively state that chickens are not nice. So maybe that'd be a fun. There's a fun question to ask. Do we have, in terms of niceness of the, like, in terms of temperament? What do we think? Do we think seagulls or chickens are the nicer of the two? All right. Let's see. What do I want to do here? Okay. So that looks fine. I might. Part of me feels like I need to do a sky replacement here, because this is. Leave those where they are. I'm getting a weird thing around that street light. The highlights that it's having issues with? No, a little bit actually. That's weird. Okay, I'll leave the highlights where they are. Bring the whites down a bit. That helps. Shadows. Let's keep the detail in the shadows. Actually, bring them up and then bring the blacks down a little bit. That's better. Okay, cool. Sorry, Shelby Lynn. I would love to get out here with a drone, actually. I'm curious if this place is probably a no-fly zone. Right, bring up the reds. Not that they're going to make much of a difference. Bring up the luminance on the reds. Still not going to make a difference. I might have to do something specific with that buoy. Yes, that's the thing about chick. Yeah, like, you got to wonder. Oh my god, I reopened my phone and it's all just angry pelican videos. I'm going to check and see if I can do it. See if I can do a drone thing. See if drone photography is allowed at Fort Monroe, because if it is, we might have, I mean, already planning kind of on going back for a fox hunt, but let's see if it's allowed. That'd be really freaking cool. Let's see. Let's go down to that area where we're looking for it. Let's see, I believe that's Fort Monroe, which has a okay, yep, nope, not allowed. No, not without permits. Which actually, now I think about it, makes sense, because even though it's a non-active military establishment anymore, it is run by the National Park Service, and the National Park Service has a blanket policy against drones for good reason. And ever since some moron flew one into Grand Prismatic in Yellowstone, so I get it. I very much understand why. Not like it makes me sad, but it's the world we have to live in. All right. Anyway, hey Callista, and thank you. There we go. I'm gonna play with the sky a little bit because I always want to put a little more, so I can get a little more detail going on up there, without giving me too much fringing around stuff that I don't want. Bring the clarity down. Bring the dehaze up a bit. Yeah, a little more of an interesting sky up there. Shelby Lynn, this is if this wasn't clear, this entire stream is a front for Evil Chicken Stories. So we've been waiting to serve our purpose. Please regale us with the tales of evil chickens. I'm not sure why people think this is a photography channel. This is a chicken channel. It's what we should pretty much only be talking about. Just been waiting for the opportune moment. So please, Evil Chicken Story away. Also, just going to draw attention to a really interesting temporal thing just in the details of the stream, that you guys are all experiencing this like at least 15 to 30 seconds behind me. So I'm responding to the comments. So I respond to your comments, and you guys can respond. You guys responding to each other's comments in real time because you guys are on the same timeline. With me, I'm responding to this and responding to your comments 30 seconds or so after you've said a thing. So it's just an interesting temporal thing that you guys are all sort of on the same timeline, responding to each other at the same time, and I'm 30 seconds behind or ahead. I don't think there's anything else I want to do with this photo. I'm pretty happy with it. Straightforward panorama. What's in black and white? What's this look like? I feel like black and white might be the way to go with this. Maybe. I don't know. Let me do a quick... There's one mask I wanted to do on this thing, which is going to be interesting because I need to see if I can even do it. If I tell this to do a color range, I'm just going to get... This is all about just this tiny little buoy out here, which navigating is going to be a bit obnoxious. There we go. All right. Create new mask. Color. Red. I just want this buoy. Let's try that again. Get the color range to actually be the right one. Do not know why this thing thinks this buoy is blue, but also chicken noodle soup sounds delicious, Stephanie. I very much am jealous. Okay, let's zoom back out. Collecting way too much there. That's fine. It's actually going to be really easy to deal with. I just don't want to get the ocean. Okay, cool. So that works, and then we can just, let's see. This actually might be easier to just paint it in, though it's getting me that detail. Let's stick with this. Okay, cool. So now we will subtract. Let's see. I'm going to subtract with a radial gradient. I'm just going to get my buoy here. Tell everything else to go away. Shelby Lynn, that's terrifying. That's actually, wow. Chickens in their heads are like, this one took our children. We're gonna take one of theirs. That's horrifying and very much on par with what I expect from chickens. Okay, so we've got that. We've got our little buoy highlighted out there. So now we can make it a thing. Crank up the saturation, turning the whole thing to give it a nice fiery look there. Give it a very overexposed look, which is also fine. I bring that down. Yeah, we're gonna bring up the try this with whites and highlights and see if that does any good. Oh yeah, bring up the whites will help. There we go. We have the shadows as well. Cool, that works. Awesome. Turn this off. Nice. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I'm a fan of that one. All right, let's set that to 3. I'm gonna do actually I'm set that to 2. I feel like this photo has more to tell me. I'm gonna do a second copy, and do it in black and white. And we will come back to work on this one some more as well. Let's do a seagull photo. And that's gonna be hard because I've got a lot of seagull photos in here that I'm really happy with. Do a couple more photos here, and then we'll call it a day. Let's see. Got this seagull doing what to me looks like a sassy runway walk. I think I got him or her right in the middle of a stride. Let's see. I got a couple more here that are giving me some looks. Honestly, I think I'm gonna come back to. I'm gonna start at the end and work my way backwards because there were some shots I got here with the texture of the water on these ridges of sand that I was like, that's a photo I want to do something with, and some really nice reflections. So I think I want to maybe this one. This one's a good choice, number 90. Oh, that one's really pretty too, for a different reason. So 90, 87. I love this guy. But yeah, there are plenty of seagulls. Let's see if I can do with 90. See how overexposed 90 is. Hopefully not. Maybe only a little bit. That's actually workable. Okay, here we go. Let's do some seagull work. Gotta bring this. Let's bring this down. Where's my 8x11? Got our seagull here with a couple of friends in the background. Nice. All right, highlights and whites coming down. Highlights can stay kind of where they were. We're gonna have to reduce some saturation to make that happen. So we're gonna play with this a bit. Bring the texture, the whites a little bit. Here's a shot where dehazing is gonna help us. Bring up the shadows, the highlights a little more. Crop this in, almost do it as a 1-to-1. Yeah, because that makes it about the seagull in the shadow. Again, example of why we're shooting raw. We can bring photos like this down to like this, which is nice. We're very happy about that. Blacks. We're going to bring up the blacks a tiny bit, just to even that out. Let's come down and do some color work. Orange. I like bringing up the orange there. I like having a little bit of orange in there. The blues. Honestly, I kind of want to leave the blues where they are and play with other colors if I can. Aqua has there's a little bit of aqua in this. We're going to bring the aquas up. That's nice. Let's see. Brightening up the blues? Nah, we'll leave them where they are. Brightening up the aquas? Same kind of deal. I'm going to bring them down even a little bit. Let's see. Yellows. Obviously, yellows are going to be part of this. We're going to bring up more than that. I want to bring up the brightness of the yellows. There we go. It was important. You were doing important work of warning us about the dangers of chickens. So no one has a problem with that. I can happily show you what the last photo looked like real quick. Where is it? Back here. So yeah, here's the currently last version of that photo. Might do a little bit more work on it. It still feels incomplete in some way. Gonna figure that out. And then here's the black and white version, which definitely is gonna get a good amount of work done. Which, first things first, I want to bring up the reds. Bring up the reds and the oranges. Yeah, that's gonna be. Anyway, back to our seagull. Where'd you go, buddy? Is this you? This is you. There you are. Looking great. All right. So yeah, color-wise, I'm not sure there's a whole lot more that I want to do with this necessarily. We'll see. Something like the blues look very. Yeah, let's bring that up. I'm always kind of wary about doing the blue and orange thing, but I do kind of think it's necessary here. Don't need to crank the oranges too much. Let's get our seagull here. So I can do a select subject. See what it gives me. That's actually exactly what I wanted. Perfect. We're gonna bring up the texture of our friend here. Bring the highlights down, the exposure up a little bit. A little bit of clarity to kind of shape him. A little bit of dehaze to shape him a little more, make him stand out nicely. A little more dehaze. A little less clarity. There we go. That's better. And then we're going to zoom in and get his eye. Do that real quick. He's a little bit softer than I want him to be, but I think we can live with that. We have the sharpness on him a bit without getting too grainy. I think that's okay. And now we're going to zoom in to 300% just to capture his eye here. Let's see, new mask. I'm going to do this one with a brush instead of a radial gradient, just because I'm going to bring the feathering down a bit. Just because it's a weird shape. It's not a full circle, so we're going to just do it this way. Do it kind of by hand. There we go. Now we can bring up the highlights and the texture. Yeah, I'm going to sharpen that a little bit. Clarity is going to be a bigger thing. Bring up the shadows. I don't want to bring up the whites. I'm going to leave the whites kind of maybe up a little bit. Not much, just a touch. We'll zoom back out to see if that's looking pretty good. Crank up the saturation because that's going to help a bit. Blacks. Yeah, bringing the blacks up is actually pretty good. Gives us a nice, brightens it up a little more. Cool. So yeah, there's a seagull. Again, I'm gonna give this one 2 stars. I feel like there's a little more to come back and do with him. Something about this isn't quite ready. Let's see. Oh, I was looking at was 87, which is pretty cool. Just some good color there. And a good look at his eye. Am I overexposed in any spots? No. This one actually will edit very nice. I'm gonna put that set a rating to 1. And then I got plenty of these where he's looking just kind of this one seagull who decided to be friends with me. And he was a very, very good model. He stood there, he looked one direction, he sat there for a second, he then looked the other direction. He was very well behaved. just getting us a little more. I don't know. Seagulls to me have there's a determination in them that I always kind of like. They always have, to me, always have this energy of like, little kids who are like, we're gonna go conquer that building. Like they always have that kind of, got this bird on a mission sort of look and energy to them, and yet they are yay big. So they're gonna like. It always feels like it's just to me it feels like they're gonna go off and have adorable little adventures, more than they're gonna be the menaces that we often paint them as. So yeah, I have an affinity for them. I think they're cute. And I think I've always kind of had a thing for them. Aw, Winky, I'm glad you're enjoying this. But how much of that, Winky? How much of that is because you just want to catch the birds? Dehazing, texturing. Yeah, let's bring the texture up. Look at the texture around on this guy's face. Okay, that's more extreme than I want to. That texture is just gorgeous. Absolutely love this photo. The complete wrong size for any kind of print publication or anything. Might get it up on my website and then on my Vero, but other than that, yeah, it's a little bit of vibrance there. Let's come down and do a little bit with the orange slider to pump that up a little bit. Let's push the yellows a little bit toward orange so we get a little more of that color. Okay, that's I'll take that, Winky. I'll be pretty happy with that actually. All right, and then this is probably of all the eyes I got photos of. This is probably the best one on this for this day. Radial gradient. This is just it's a little bit got to call a little bit of catch light in it with that white speck from the sun. Just this highlights up, bring up that saturation, not all the way up. Texture, a little bit of texture is pretty good. Clarity is going to darken. I want to do a little bit of that. Dehaze, again, little bits and pieces here and there. Pull that back. Yeah. Push this a little tiny bit toward blue. So it's the same, kind of fits in as the same color, and the saturation doesn't take it too far away. And yeah. That's a good looking seagull there. I want to do a quick little mask, quick little linear mask down here to kind of catch some of these stones. Let's bring the texture up, the saturation up a bit. Dehaze a little bit. Bring the shadows up. Let's put the saturation back down. That helps a little bit, I think. I think it gives you a little more. Yeah, gives you a little more detail in those stones there, which I liked. Wanted to get some of that. I've got a photo, say one of these, where the bird is out of focus and there we go, and the stones down there, what's in focus. That's way too zoomed in. So that'll be one to edit in the future. But this one is in pretty good shape. Just a very rich color palette there. Set that to 1 as a reminder to come back to it because I do really like it. I'm gonna come back to a lot of these. We're gonna spend more time editing these photos. We're not done with this day yet. Also, because you guys haven't had the pleasure of meeting Stiletto yet. That's Stiletto. She's great. She's adorable and like very friendly and very formidable. Who also just loves butt scritches. So that's Stiletto, and we're gonna have fun editing this nice photo of her and her family. Got several other photos to go through here. I want to do one more photo. I'm gonna start editing another one real quick. Gonna kind of come full circle to the other side of this hallway with the shadows and the light that we sort of started with. I'm gonna work on some of these. But I want to go ahead and throw this out. I'm going to do this photo and then one more. And the last photo I'm going to do is sort of viewer discretion advised because it is of an animal that is not currently alive. So that's going to just put that out there to anyone who may be squeamish or may have squeamish people in the room who might need to not be in the room when I do that photo. So just throwing that out there. I'm going to edit one of these first, and then we'll come back, and then I'm gonna finish with that one because despite the subject matter, is a very pretty picture, and it gives us it's a good thing to talk about as a final point, just in our dealings with nature, because this creature did not perish from, as far as I can tell, from natural causes. This had a little bit of a human hand in it. Okay, so in the meantime, we're going to talk about this hallway. So this is the other end from where we were doing this photo earlier. This is the other end of that hallway. And yeah, there were three kind of rooms to it. There was this one we started in, there was the second room, and the third room where we went and looked back. So I'm going to try to decide which one of these photos I want to do. Because I did a whole bunch of these at varying degrees of framing to try to really capture not just the lighting but the depth. That's in the second room. I think I want to be in the first room. The second room's shots were all they were still interesting, but they were much darker and I don't know. The first room to me was the room that I felt more connected to. So let's start back at the beginning of this. Yeah, there's our had a lot of fun trying to frame up a shot where I didn't have the sun in it. And I was kind of standing, kind of finding a spot to stand where like the the pillar right next to me, kind of right here, would block the sun so that I could get a shot. All right, so that's better. That's more focus. I think the problem with this composition that I think makes it interesting, but also is the choice I need to make. Is do I want to have the doorway here? I'm not sure why I'm pointing. I should do the mouse. The doorway here be my central point, or want to have it symmetrical where you really get the lines kind of coming across. So like that's closer to symmetrical. This is also, I'm changing lenses as I go. So this is at 24. This is at 14. So we're wider here, obviously. 13. That's 65. So I switched to a longer lens and zoomed in. That might be the way to go with this because it really does pull out the details. That bright lens flare, there's something about that's kind of cool. 50 millimeters. It's a little too, I like that because it does kind of draw your eye to the door in an interesting way. That might be one to do. Let's set the rating on one on that one, because less of the ceiling might not be a bad thing. It's that weird. I want the door to be the subject, but I don't even know. The door and the light are such a, like, to follow the light, to follow the light, you gotta kind of go through the door. So so I guess the light is the subject that we're sort of following. That one's pretty good. Let's put a rating on that. A couple of these here with a little brighter with the lens flares that I can easily remove. That was an accident. Let's see, that one's just a tilted version of this one. Let's see. I'm gonna stretch a little bit here. I'm gonna raise the desk up and do this last one standing. So, going up for a sec. A couple of stretches in. Get my knees shaken out. All right, better. Ooh, that is so much better. Yep, okay, better way to go. Here we go. So, yeah, back to these photos. Let's see. I remember liking these shots except for that lens flare, which is an easy fix. Let's put a rating on that one. The difference here, just slight change in camera position. Which of these do I like better? I think the second one. Set that rating to 1. Set this rating to 0. And now we're in the second room, which doesn't quite do it justice. Okay. So now the question becomes, let's check all our ones that have our 1-star rating here. So there's this one. So yeah, just these. We've narrowed it down to 3 for this session. This is kind of what's drawing my eye right now. Keep going back to the last one. I keep coming back to this one, so this is the one we're going to work on right now. This is the one we're going to do. All right, let's start by bringing this in just a bit, just to crop out that last little section there. We're going to use our healing brush to get rid of this lens flare, a little speckle of light there, which I believe is. Let me do a quick peek here at my lens. No, maybe not. I thought that might have been the result of a little bit of something on the lens, and just that's where the light was picking up. It doesn't appear to be. All right, cool. We're gonna go back to crop. I want to crop this up a touch, like that. Good. We're gonna do the same thing from the top down. Gonna keep that door more or less centered. You can actually keep it centered, kind of like that. I don't want to go all the way to that wall, because I do like having the breadth of this light kind of be our guide. So I'm gonna keep it like this. I think that's the way to go. Do it like that. Let's see. First thought is always clarity. The clarity might actually hurt us on this one. We're gonna bring it up a little bit. Let's texture. Texture I think is gonna hurt us. So we're gonna let texture kind of do its own thing. Highlights. Again, shooting raw. You bring the highlights down, you've got this. You bring them up, you got that. But like if you look at the histogram up here, which most cameras, most DSLRs, there's a way to display a histogram on screen as you take pictures. If you get something like this where you're not, peeking up here, you're not coming off the edge of the map either on the side or on the top. You get something that looks kind of like this. That tells you everything in the photo is adjustable and exposed well. Might be peaking the yellows and reds a little bit there, but that's not too big of a deal. And it means you've got leeway to adjust as you want to, which I do. Bring the whites and highlights up. And bring the shadows down. This is a good use of being able to bring the shadows down and leaving the blacks more or less alone, because now I can bring the shadows down and I can draw the attention kind of to these lit sections. So I don't want to bring the shadows all the way down there, a little bit up. Yeah, this one, I'm going to do this in black and white. This one just feels better in black and white. I can turn this filter off. There we go. I may do a non-black and white version. But yeah, right now black and white is the way to go. I don't know. Let me do this. What if I push this toward gold? I like that better. We're gonna do that. That was a weird thing when I was taking these photos. One of the few settings I leave on auto on my camera is the white balance, because for the most part I can adjust this. And it was coming out with the texture being a lot bluer than I remember it being. I took a photo on my phone. I'm just gonna check that because phone was giving me a different white balance to it. Yeah, there's a much more. The light was much more golden in my phone than here. Though it still has the shadows being fairly blue, so we may play with that. I think we are going to play with that. So let's do this. Let's put this back. Push it a little bit. And then we will accentuate that down here with color. So we're going to bring up the saturation on the oranges a little bit, saturation on the yellows for sure, and then bring up the blues. And we can get a nice kind of mix going on. Green, yeah, bring that up. And let's do a mask where we do a luminance range, which should get us the brightest spots. Then we can refine that. Get it kind of... off of everything except for the brightest parts. We'll do a duplicate and invert. Get it off the ground there. That'll be good. We delete the first one. This is the thing I found sort of works best. You do a couple of duplicate and inverts and you sort of adjust them as you go. That works. Okay. So now I can push the light more in that golden direction. Delete that first mask. I can delete that. Thank you. I can push everything else into that bluer, greener area, and that's going to look more interesting. I like that a lot. Let's come to here, and I want to do a subtract brush with the feathering all the way back up, but my density down to about 50. And we're just going to subtract kind of half of this pillar. Then we're going to come here and do the same thing. We're going to add a brush this time. Density is still about the same. And we're going to just add a little bit to that pillar to give it that look. Yeah, I like that. I'm pretty happy with how that's coming along. Let's work on some more global adjustments here. I now feel a little more comfortable bringing the shadows up. I'm happier about that. Let's come down to our luminance sliders. I'm gonna bring the blues up a bit because I want there to feel like there's something at the end of the tunnel. Right now, your eye kind of the photo I think kind of brings your eye there as you follow the light and you kind of end up there. I'd like there to be something that feels a little bit like it's a little bit of a light there. Orange can stay where it is. Yellows can very much stay where they are. I think down a tiny bit, but now I kind of yeah, down a tiny bit. Yellows just down a little bit. Oranges can come up a bit though. That'll be nice. Our aquas can come up. Our greens. Let the greens kind of stay where they are. Stay in the middle of that little thing. Reds not really having an impact. Purples, nope. And magentas, nah, not really. The photo is living very specifically in the blue, green, yellow, orange space, which is fine. Makes for an interesting contrast to other shots we've done. Let's see. Okay. Anything I want to do here? I kind of want to push green a little bit toward aqua. And let that, because I kind of like that sort of aqua-y tint that we have. Actually, leave the aquas alone. Push the blues a little more toward aqua. Just a tiny bit. Let's do -5. Just a teeny weeny little bit there. All right, cool. I'm pretty happy with how that's starting to look. Let's do. I want to tweak. I want to get something at the end here. I want this. There's a couple spots I want to brush up. So step 1, get me a brush, new mask with a brush, and I want density all the way up for now. And I want to get the ceiling here, this yellowish ceiling. I want to do something with that. I want to brighten that up, both down up there and down here. Neatness only sort of counts. And now we can bring up the highlights there. So if we look at the photo, yeah, it's kind of it feels like a little bit of a continuation, and it sort of helps balance out the lighting on the ground. The lighting sort of reflects up onto it. Don't need the shadows. Just need a little bit. Yeah, lighting sort of reflecting up onto it. And now I'm going to set the brush to 50%, still at the same thing, and we're going to brush in the ceiling here. So it all feels connected. Nice. That's looking good. And now we're going to do a new mask, new brush. You know what? There is an object selector. I want to try that real quick. Let's get rid of this new mask. Cancel that. No. New mask, new brush. Create new mask, object. And I'm going to tell you I want this square. Whoa, what is that? We're detecting objects within this. I've never used this object brush. We're going to see how this goes. You see what it does to my processing speed. It's trying to find objects in there. It's having a hell of a time. Let's try this again. Okay. Yeah, create new mask, object. All right, so I can either do it with draw a rectangle. Let's do that. Let's do the draw a rectangle option. See if I can get it to just give me that section there. As it tries to figure out what objects are in that section. And this is an extension. There we go. Perfect. Just gave me the whole rectangle. Photoshop has a feature like this that will select objects. I've been saying I wanted this in Lightroom for so long. I'm so glad I found it. It's here. Okay, cool. So I can pull that back. I can brighten that up. I'm probably gonna desat. I'm gonna push it a little more toward yellow to kind of give it a little. I don't know if I push it really one way or the other. It's gonna become the thing. If I push it green or purple, I want it to stand out while still being. I'm gonna let it kind of merge on the colors. Clarity might be the answer there. Clarity, texture. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing the depth. A little bit of dehaze. Our eyes are drawn to the brightest and darkest things. So I could darkening it up might actually be the answer to give you that thing at the end of the tunnel. Bring the blacks down a little bit like that, so it feels. Just bring the shadows down would be the way to go. Yeah, the stuff we can do in Lightroom is astounding. Like, I know there's a lot of photographers who notice their edits in Photoshop, and that is totally fine. And there's sometimes I do go into Photoshop, but for the most part, the tools that Lightroom has, have always been enough for me. I've always been really happy with them. Yeah, dark and high saturation or low saturation. Dark, high saturation, a little more green. Not all the way up like that. Yeah, I think that darkening it might have been the way to go. A little bit of keep the clarity up, give us a bit of a high contrast thing, and that kind of I don't know. I think that's working. I'm gonna set this at 2 and revisit it. In terms of where I want it to, what I want to do with it, but I'm actually really liking that, which is great. Let's play with masks one more time. There's one more thing I want to do with these masks. Make sure I got the right one here. This one. That'll be that's the shadows. I want this one, which is the lights. I'm gonna bring the texture down. Bring texture down. And the highlights up, so that it's not as the texture we're looking at is the detailing of the stonework and what's happened to it, and then the light is our guide through these moments. All right, that looks cool. Let's take a look at before and after. Yeah, has a nice almost like an underwater feeling. Looks like this to me. It looks like this place was flooded through, and I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Let's go ahead and mark that. I'll keep it marked at 2. I'm going to come back and revisit. I'm also going to do a second copy and set that to black and white. So I know I'm going to come back and do more with that. With all the masks we've got, I'm going to come back and do more with the black and white version. So, okay. Let's do the one last photo just to finish up for today. And like I said, this one's a little bit viewer discretion advised because it is because we're going to be doing a photo of a dead bird. And it is, I believe it's going to be, I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be this one. I've got a few different versions. So this is a gull that, if you can see, got tangled in wires and just did not make it. And is now hanging above the water. So we're going to do a little bit of editing on this one. This is not a, yeah, it's part of the natural life cycle. It was surreal seeing that. I don't think I've got any shots that kind of show how close it is, but this pelican is on this piling, and I believe this piling here, this black one on the right hand side, is that's the shadow that this pelican's piling is casting. So it's this bird was right under there, and just there's a was a horrifying indifference. But there's still I don't know. I think there's a value in editing this photo and sharing it and showing the way this came through. So it also, for like, hate to say it, it is actually I do think it's pretty, just in the way it's done. But this is one thing to be aware of if you're putting up wires. I believe these are these are anti-bird wires. I'm not sure exactly what the point of them is other than that. And I will also like to say they are doing you no good. If that's what they were up for, you still have tons of pelicans. But it is, this was a photo that I saw that I took, and was like, this is something that I thought needed to be shared and needed to be discussed. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do this mostly quietly, just kind of talk through details as I work on this one. There's not a whole lot to do with this. I'm actually pretty happy with how it came out. I want to do a little bit of sharpening, a little bit of color detail, but yeah, good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna bring up the texture, bring down the clarity. Okay. See you, Stephanie. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that and I know we're editing a dead bird photo, and that is sad, but also make sure the chicken noodle soup you're making, those chickens deserve it. We don't know if this gull deserved it. We know the chickens probably did. All right. A little bit hypocritical there, but who cares? Hypocrisy for the sake of silliness, I think, can be more or less allowed from time to time. All right. Let's see. If I bring up the saturation on this mask here, I just want to get I want to get some more of those gentle purples in there in the background. End of day color, maybe a little bit more. Nah, that end of day purple is kind of just all it really needs. We're going to come down to here. Another mask with a brush, because I want to get these. Let's crank the density back up to 100. I want to get these barnacles and stuff here and pull out the color in them. But yeah, just as the thing that caught my eye about this moment was I didn't realize what the photo was until I took it and looked at it. It wasn't until I kind of bring the density down, like from where I was standing, I could see like that looks like a bird, but that's weird. It's weird that it's kind of down there and in a weird shape. I want to take a picture of that, and then I took a picture and I zoomed in, and I realized what I'd taken a picture of, and that became, and it, gave me a somber moment to reflect. And I thought, should I share this? Should I delete it? And I think there's value in sharing this, and also, like, potentially, I'm gonna sit here and hope that people will have sort of the same reaction I did, where, you first see the photo, you see the color, you see something in it there, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that is. And then you look closer at it, and you realize what it is, and it's wait a minute, something's up here, and that feels important to me. Wait, so I want to make sure that's brighter. There we go. Desaturate a bit. We're going to add a brush. Sorry, my friend. Just coming to make sure we get all of you sort of equally represented here. We also need to subtract the brush, zoom in here, and kind of clear out this little area like this. Spots here between the feathers. Clean up the little spots. There we go. Okay, we'll come here, do an add brush just to catch those areas as well. The density, I want to make sure this is brushed in correctly. There we go. Better. This is also one of the last photos I took yesterday, so it's fitting to end today's stream with it. As we let this, kind of. What's going on here? I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to. Subtract, brush. Get the saturation off of our friend here. Yeah. Gonna bring the texture down in the background just a little bit. Bring the texture up on the sides just a bit, so you notice that. There's a temptation I have to push up the purples a little more. I'm not sure. Yeah, a little more purple is good. It gives us a little more detail back there. Darkening them down a bit. Yeah, just that end of day lighting, and we can just to, I don't know, have this moment where I was first struck by the color, the contrast, and the shape, and then I realized what this was and realized what had happened, and that gave me a moment to pause, and I felt that was a thing I wanted to share. So, that's I think that's in pretty decent shape. Do another quick little push check on here. There we go, just like that. All right, that's what we're gonna finish with that for today. And just this moment of memory and realization that for as much beauty and amazing creatures and life and things that we find in nature, from our gorgeous heron friend here, to our seagull buddies, to some of these cool shadows and lights. We also there's an end to this as well, and it is beautiful. It can be beautiful. It isn't always beautiful, and it is worth acknowledging and admiring in a way, and also learning from. So that's why I felt that was the photo to end today's stream on. I'm going to go back to one of the ones we started with. I'm going to go back to this one. Go back to this one. There we go. And this will be the photo that I kind of close us out on. So, with that said, let's come back to just me. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for being part of this and coming on this journey where we're sort of celebrating all of the awesome, and by awesome I mean kind of awe-inspiring parts of nature. Some beautiful, some stark, some uplifting, some contemplative. I never want to say, never want to be downers, but like I think a lot of times especially in nature, like tragedy in nature is in many ways a place to learn and a place to reflect. So that is that's what today was about. Learning, reflecting, especially visiting a historical site. I think that's important as well. So with all that said, majority of these photos will be available on my website to view, to purchase if you want. That last one will not be available for purchase. That one's just there to be shared. But I'll be once I finish editing the whole day, everything will be posted online. In the meantime, if you I'm not going to transition too much into selling, but I'm going to say postcards available. Website, Etsy, erichackler.com. You can find them there. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thank you for being part of this, as always. It's I feel like it's easy to share or at least for me, it's easy to share like the photo edits that are fun and like here's a cool bird and here's a cool weird thing and here's a dog. I'm feeling very vulnerable right now, and that's a thing that I am both terrified and happy that I get to share with you guys. So to finish on this note, where we can just kind of finish up this, at least for me, rainy day, and we can just take in take a moment to enjoy nature and enjoy the world around us. Even not even go out and just sit there and contemplate it and look out the window, imagine it, picture it. I've always kind of said my photography is about chaos. My photography is it's connections in chaos. It is beauty in the storm, and there's tragedy there, and you can find beauty in it. You can find lessons in it, and I think finding lessons in things is part of what makes them beautiful. But yeah. Acknowledging that I think is important, and just being present with it is an important thing. So ending on what I wouldn't say is definitely not a goofy happy note, but I would say at least for me is a beautiful moment. So beautiful, us having a beautiful moment, not necessarily that beautiful moment as in that photo. But so with that said, thank you all for being part of this. Thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing your time, your energy, your terrifying chicken stories with us. Please go have a good night. Find a fulfilling moment to take some time to contemplate the awesome world we live in all of its chaos and all of its connection and all of its beauty. So, all right, be safe, be well, and we will do this again in the coming days.